Monitoring risks. So in this register I had two risks. One I assessed and ultimately accepted, and the other I haven't assessed yet. But imagine when you have a lot more risks in the system and you've accepted the ones that you want to. I might want to look at all the risks in all the registers together. So there is another view. I can go to the risk list. This is the dashboard where I'm looking at the risks one register at a time. Obviously this is the register that has my risks. But if I wanted to look at all the risks in both of those registers, then I could go to this level. But here I can only see a count of risks with the status. I can't see the risks themselves, but I can on this list view. So if I switch to the risk list, I can now see all of the risks if I remove the filter, all of the risks that are in any of those registers with their acceptance status. So here I could keep an eye on all of the risk acceptances, even if I have lots of risks. Now what will happen is this risk was accepted at a point in time, and at that time, if you remember, if I look at the history of acceptance, which is here in the acceptance panel, I accepted this risk when it was a level 7 residual and 20 initial. Now there are decimal places here that are not shown, so it was 7 point something actually. So that means if there's a change to the residual risk, higher or lower, it might still say 7, but it might be 7 point that's changed. And the built-in functionality in Stream is if you have a risk that is accepted, as this one is, but its status goes up even a small amount, a decimal amount, because a control reduces in deployment or risk reduction. So something happens here that will affect the risk, or if I reassess the initial risk, then of course the residual risk will change. And then the risk, if it goes up, needs to be reaccepted. So this is automatically done. Risks will be flagged for review if they are accepted and they go up even slightly. So if I take a control like screening, no, the one I already changed, physical security, I nudged this up to 100. Let's say in a future audit this control is no longer 100, so I find in an audit that there's a problem with the evidence or something. So let's reduce the evidence from perfect to not so perfect and apply that. In fact, I can immediately see here that one of the related risks has been moved to review, and that's the automation that I'm describing. If I go back to the risk, then you can see this is no longer an accepted risk, it's a risk requiring review because it had been accepted, but now its level has gone up. And as I indicated, it's still a 7, but it's a 7 point, and that point has increased slightly from the original residual risk. So back in the register, I can see at a glance all of my risks that were that are on review, and I can go back and say, well, do I still accept it, or do I need to address improvements now to make that risk acceptable again? So monitoring of risks I can do by keeping an eye out for risks that are accepted and now require review.